Welcome back to the Jester Section Hiker Podcast, everybody. I am your host, Julie Jester Gayheart, and this morning I am coming to you from the Black Mountain Campground. We are in site number 4 in western North Carolina, and this morning I am going to hike the highest peak east of the Mississippi, Mount Mitchell. I am so excited. I cannot hardly stand it. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to record another episode for you guys about climbing Mount Mitchell. But today is going to be very special, and you all are going to learn why as we go along for this episode. And I've titled the episode Climbing 3,684 feet to the highest peak east of the Mississippi. Here at the campground, we are at about 3,000 feet, and the highest peak, Mount Mitchell, tops out at 6,684 feet. So starting here at the campground, I will be climbing 3,684 feet at about 6 miles to reach the peak of Mount Mitchell, and I could not be more excited. I wanted to share with you one of the resources that I am going to be utilizing in this hike, and that is the book, Hiking North Carolina's Lookout Towers by Peter Barr. And if you guys have been listening to the podcast for a while, Peter Barr was on a couple years ago. I am utilizing his first version of the book, which I am getting ready to read to you from. It is very weathered, a lot of notes, all about the fire towers in western North Carolina. And when he was on the podcast, he was getting ready to release the second version of the book. So right now you can get the first version and you can get the second version of his book. Before we get to the hike, I wanted to read to you actually from Peter's book a little bit about Mount Mitchell and a little bit about the hike. So let's get right to it. This in Peter Barr's book is titled The Mountain. As you might imagine, Mount Mitchell tops several categories. It is not only the highest point in the Black Mountains of Yancey County in North Carolina, but also the highest peak in the southern and eastern United States. In fact, it is the highest point east of the Black Hills of South Dakota. Though much shorter than its predecessors, the lookout atop Mount Mitchell remains the highest viewpoint in eastern America. Botanist Andre Michaux became the first person to document a visit to the rugged Black Mountains when he arrived in 1789, seeking valuable plants to send to France. However, it was the explorations of Dr. Elisha Mitchell that brought prominence to the mountain in the 1830s. Mitchell, a 19th century Renaissance man, was born in Washington, Connecticut in 1793. He graduated from Yale University in 1813 and also earned his master's there in 1816. In 1818, he became a professor at the University of North Carolina, where he remained throughout his career. At UNC, he taught mathematics, botany, zoology, and other physical sciences until 1825, when he assumed the professorship of chemistry, mineralogy, and geology. Over time, he wore the hat of nearly every existing university position, including superintendent of buildings and grounds, postmaster, and chaplain. Mitchell was ordained a Presbyterian minister in 1821. He frequently lectured on non-scientific subjects including Latin, logic, geography, history, and composition. In 1835, he even served a year as president of the university. He received an honorary Doctor of Divinity degree from the university in 1840. Mitchell's passion for exploration in the North Carolina mountains began in the years from 1824 to 1828, when he conducted the first state geological survey in America. He probably first summited Mount Mitchell at the time known as Black Dome or Black Mountain in 1835. The published account of his exploration attracted wide attention because it was the first authoritative announcement that the Black Mountains were higher than the White Mountains and Mount Washington in New Hampshire, and therefore the highest in the eastern United States. At that time, Black Dome or Black Mountain became known as Mount Mitchell or Mitchell's Peak. Mitchell returned to the Blacks in 1844 for further measurements. On this expedition, he may have climbed what is now Clingman's Peak or Mount Gibbs, to the south, which he favored as the highest peak in the range. Controversy soon erupted with Senator Thomas Clingman, Mitchell's former student at UNC. Clingman, also exploring North Carolina's mountains and measuring their highest elevations, accused Mitchell of never having climbed and measured the high peak that bore his name. Instead, Clingman claimed himself to be the first to summit and measure the highest peak in the East. He used his influence as a United States Senator to propagate this claim and have the mountain renamed Clingman's Peak. During the controversy, the names of Mount Mitchell and Clingman's Peak were temporarily reversed on their respective mountains. And those mountains now are Mount Mitchell and Clingman's Peak, or Clingman's Dome along the Appalachian Trail, which Clingman's Dome is the highest point on the Appalachian Trail. Indeed, Dr. Mitchell's correspondence exhibited his uncertainty about reaching the highest point. Nevertheless, enraged by Clingman's accusations, he was determined to prove his claim to the first ascent and measurement. He returned to the Blacks in 1857 at the age of 64. Presumably after reaching the summit of Mount Mitchell, he traversed the range to the north and descended the western slopes into the Cane River Valley to connect with a former guide and friend, Big Tom Wilson. 5 days later, Dr. Mitchell had not arrived as expected, and a multi-party search ensued. Several days afterward, Big Tom found Mitchell's body in a 15-foot deep pool at the base of Mitchell Falls. His watch had stopped at 8:19, indicating he had probably slipped over the falls in the fading light and drowned. Dr. Mitchell's body was first buried in Asheville and then exhumed and reburied on the summit of the mountain that now permanently bears his name. Just afterwards, famed Swiss geographer Arnold Gayheart measured Mount Mitchell's elevation and confirmed Mitchell's claim that it is higher than any other peak in the East. So there you have it, everybody. There is the story of Mount Mitchell. The story does continue in Peter Barr's book, but I figured that will give you the gist of Mount Mitchell, Dr. Elisha Mitchell, the controversy between him and Clingman's Dome or Clingman's Peak now. So you can get way more information about the story in the book and probably a nice Google search. So in the book titled Hiking North Carolina's Lookout Towers, there are 3 different hikes to Mount Mitchell, but I will be doing what Peter considers hike number 3, the Mount Mitchell Trail. So here's a little bit of information. The elevation gain is 3,684 feet. The distance is 6.1 miles, and the rating, according to Peter, is very strenuous. So I wanted to give you a little information about the hike itself. In the book, it says you can use this trail to climb the highest mountain in the eastern United States from its very base. So right here at Black Mountain Campground is the very base of the mountain, which makes it so special because you're climbing from the base to the very peak on the Mount Mitchell Trail. The route ranks second in the book for thigh-burning, lung-busting elevation gain, outdone only by Baxter Creek Trail ascending Mount Sterling in the Great Smoky Mountains. And Mount Sterling, there is a fire tower up there, and the Baxter Creek Trail is part of the Benton MacKaye Trail. Peter also goes on and says, you should note that the current trail rarely follows the route indicated on the USGS Silo or Cello Quand Wrangell topographical map. That was a mouthful. Also, because of several reroutings, the total distance is slightly longer than listed on the signs and in other sources. And he does go on to say, from the information signboard at the trailhead for the Green Knob Trail, cross to the other side of the road to the signed entrance of the Black Mountain Campground. Here, white dot blazes indicating the Mountains to Sea Trail and blue and yellow rectangular blazes are evident on trees just before the vehicle bridge over the South Toe River. You will follow these blazes nearly the entire route to the summit of Mount Mitchell. So, y'all, I am getting ready to make my way over to the start of the trail right on the bridge of the South Toe River. Along the way, I am going to be coming back to you all from the hike. So I'm going to give you the goal of this hike. I'm going to do a check-in. I'm going to come back at the peak, and then we will wrap up the episode. So before I head out, I wanted to give you some additional resources that you can utilize for this hike. Technically, the Black Mountain Trail hike is also, or the Mount Mitchell Trail hike is also part of the Mountains to Sea Trail. So I have the Far Out app loaded, and I have the Mountains to Sea Trail pulled up, and the mile markers from the Mountains to Sea Trail and from the Far Out app. This is going westbound on the Mountains to Sea Trail. I will be starting at the South Toe River at mile marker 991.4 and ending on the top of Mount Mitchell, which is mile marker 997.2. Again, westward miles. In Far Out, it says 5.9 miles. So today I'll be going anywhere from 5.9 miles to just a little over 6 miles. And it has us elevation here at the campground right around 3,000 feet. And then the peak of Mount Mitchell, 6,684 feet. I wanted to also say here at the Black Mountain Campground, they do give out free maps if you ask for one that are printed and by the North Carolina High Peaks Trail Association, which encompasses over 80 miles in Mount Mitchell State Park and the Black Mountain Trail Network. So, y'all, I am getting ready to make sure my pack is all ready to go, and I will be starting the hike here shortly, and I will be back to start giving you all updates. All right, y'all, I am back. I am 2 miles in on the Mount Mitchell Trail, and I just passed the intersection where you have to make a decision. You can continue on the Mount Mitchell Trail, or you can do this nice little loop out to Higgins Bald. And I have been out there. It's a great hike as well. But I am staying true to this trail for this hike. And just wanted to give you all the why of this here in the first couple miles. First of all, Mount Mitchell, climbing to the highest peak east of the Mississippi. Absolutely amazing. And doing that from the base of the mountain is an awesome feeling. Second of all, you guys have heard me talk about good old southern Appalachian hiking. And this is it. This is it. Rhododendron tunnels, mountain laurel, flame azaleas, even though they're done blooming, and the footpath up to Mount Mitchell. It's just a long, sustained, switchbacking type of climb. And I do apologize if I am breathing heavy as I record this, because y'all, this climb is relentless. And another why of this hike is I love this trail, and I love the sustained effort that you have to put in. And my goal for today, and so far so good, is not to stop. Just keep going at a slow, sustained effort pace. And sometimes it's way slower than others.
But I just kind of want to push myself today after an amazing summer of hiking. I've got the legs for it. I feel pretty good at 2 miles in, and I'm just walking, putting in that effort, and listening to my own heartbeat, my breath. No headphones today. No looking at the phone. I'm not going to look at the time until I get up to the top. I started, it was just a little after 8 o'clock. And I don't want anything in my brain that puts doubt or, oh, you have to hurry up, you're behind, or anything like that. I just want to do what I know I'm capable of without any distractions. And we'll see what that ends up to be at the top. So, yeah, y'all, I am in hog heaven. I was so excited this morning. I just couldn't even hardly stand it. So after I recorded that intro at the campground, I got right to it. And the North Carolina High Peaks Association has some great mile markers on the trail. About every half a mile, you know where you're at. You know how far you've gone. And I'm using those mile markers every half mile to rehydrate, take in a goo, do whatever I need to do to sustain myself so I can keep going. So that is the why. I've hiked this trail many, many times, but this time I believe has put more fire in my belly than any other, because the last time I hiked this trail was September 19th, 2020. And y'all know what happened with all the foot stuff after that. I don't need to go into all that again. So it's almost a redemption hike of its own here on the mountain. And I love it. And I am just smelling everything. It is so green and wet and true to the Southern Appalachian hiking. Brown path, rocks, roots, but sustainable hiking. And I absolutely adore this hike. So once I get to the 4 mile point, I will come back and fill y'all in. But right now, I am on the path, surrounded by a complete rhododendron tunnel. The rhododendrons have grown into each other over the top of my head as well. And y'all, this is one of those hikes where the higher you go, the cooler it gets. And I get a peek of that Carolina blue sky every once in a while. And that continues to fuel that fire in my belly. So I'll be back after mile 4. All right, y'all, I am back. I have reached the 4 mile post. Holy cow. What a sustained effort, where every step now is truly a strategy. Man, oh man, we have changed landscape. We've gone from the rhododendron tunnels to the pines, and now where every footstep is a rock slab, a root. And I've reached the point, if you've done this before, where you are switchbacking, some power lines. And when you look out, I don't know what direction right now because y'all know I'm in that effort where you can see the Linville Gorge Wilderness area and Table Rock. And y'all, I am just super excited that this effort, no gadgets, no phone, just me, my breath, my heartbeat, slow down when I need to, sustain when I need to. And now I'm to the point where when I step up, that is even an effort. And I've got a guy right in front of me, so I'm talking kind of low. And hopefully this mic is going to pick it up. But I have taken a goo about every mile, drinking water. By the time I get to the top, I probably will have consumed over 2 liters of water, 4 or 5 goos. And I am putting Noon in my water for that electrolyte replacement. And y'all, this sustained effort climbing this is hard. And I love it. And yeah, so I will come back as I pop out off of the Mount Mitchell Trail and onto the little paved area that everybody can drive up to and make my way to Dr. Elisha Mitchell's Dr. Elisha Mitchell's tower is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I got trail brain and I'm trying to do trail math, and that's just not going to work. So y'all, I'll be back. All right, y'all, I am back. I just hit the mile 5 post, and holy cow, that excuse me, mile between 4 and 5 is a pure grinder. Rock slabs, ups, large step ups, roots, rocks, everything wet, dark rich mud, you name it. It happens in that mile. And I don't know, in between 4 and 5, I got so hungry. So I just busted out the bars, had a nice peanut butter crunch Kodiak bar, over 200 calories, good 10 grams of protein, good carbs, good sugars, and that bar was kicking in. So anyway, still haven't stopped. Less than a mile to go. Holy cow, it's starting to hurt. It's starting to really hurt. And I know the point where I can go a little faster because we're actually going to make a turn onto like this nature trail, and you're on that, and then you pop out to the sidewalk or the black, whatever it is, y'all, trail brain, and obviously something's in my throat, but this is the reality of the situation. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but water is just running down the trail. And I see the official Mount Mitchell State Park sign. Under a mile to go. I need a drink. I'll be back. All right, y'all. When I popped out to turn left to come to the tower, it was so crowded. Oh my gosh. So I walked around, got to the tower, touched the sign, touched Dr. Elisha's grave. Oh, you guys, this means so freaking much. I cannot explain this at all. No stopping. Continued effort. Consistency. That's the name of the game. Still out of breath. There's a line to take a picture. Oh, there's a line to take a picture. But literally standing behind this tower means more than taking a picture. Because I did it, y'all. 2024. We're not done. We're going to keep going. We're going to recover. Oh my gosh, this hike. Whew. So much. All right, I guess I'm going to go wait in line. See y'all soon. What a hike on Mount Mitchell today. OMG. I don't even know what to say or how to wrap up this episode. After the hike, we went out to eat. We came back to the campground and we have just been chilling. I went down to the river and got myself in the river, did a nice soak on my feet, and what a perfect day. I'm not sure you replicate these kind of days. So I am going to relish in the fact that I set out to do something this morning and made up my mind that that was what was going to happen. So very happy with the day. Yeah. And we're not done. Got another hike scheduled for tomorrow and another one for Monday. And I will do episodes about those hikes as well. Before I close out the episode, I do want to dedicate this episode to Peter Barr, who wrote the book about the Western North Carolina lookout towers that I referred to today. This morning in the intro, he recently had brain surgery and had a tumor removed. And Peter Barr has been an inspiration to me since 2008. He is the reason that I actually started a Twitter account in 2010 so I could follow along with his through hike on the Appalachian Trail. So, Peter, I am happy to dedicate this episode to you. And I am going to share, he does have a GoFundMe. I will put a link in the description of this episode if you feel so inclined. If Peter Barr has inspired you, if you live anywhere near Western North Carolina and you have hiked to any of the fire towers, I am sure Peter was an inspiration to you. Once again, I will leave a link to all of the resources that I mentioned in this episode. I'll also leave links to my prior Mount Mitchell episode and my episode with Peter Barr. So until next week's show, thanks for listening. Be safe out there, everybody, and happy section hiking.